So there's a lot of controversy in regards to the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal, and people are not happy. Now, to fully break this down for you, we're going to first do kind of like a rundown of this controversy and show you both sides. And then what I want to do afterwards is point you to a bigger discussion. So yeah, it seems like Nintendo kind of stepped into it, stepped all the way in it, no boots. And people are asking, has Nintendo lost their minds? Nintendo Switch 2 reveal happened the day prior to this recording. They revealed that the platform is going to be $440 by itself. It's going to come bundled. There's also going to be a bundle with Super Mario Kart World. That's going to be $500. It's going to, we just discovered it's going to feature, it's actually been confirmed that it does have some NVIDIA upscaling in it, better textures and things like that, better performance. They talked a lot about, performance modes, not always being, but, performance modes, targeting 4K or 1080p 60 or 4K 60 if docked. And, what was it, 1080p 120 if docked, and 720 120p if undocked, right? So there's a lot of crazy things that's said around during the direct. Games to a lot of people look good. The attitude towards the direct pretty much was evenly like, yo, this is dope. I mean, there were some naysayers out there, but a lot of people were saying, yo, this was dope. That is until the prices drop. The price for the unit, $440, caused a little bit of a stir. But I think as people thought about it, they weren't too upset about that. I think people were more or less waiting to see if the unit was going to be $500 USD. That would have caused an uproar universally, I think. But the thing that really set the community off is the $90 games if it's somewhat digital, and $80 digital games. Now, again, that price isn't across the board, but it's starting to look like that Nintendo first party games might steer that way. And then we got more information about games that were originally Switch titles, that if you want to upgrade them to Nintendo Switch 2 capabilities, the additional price you got to pay for that, people aren't happy. So let's take a look at both sides and tell you what our initial thoughts are. And then we're going to take you to a deeper discussion and show you how to, be part of that discussion. We're going to talk further after we actually look at some hands-on content. All right. But with that said, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, MM2K, Hard Knock Digital Culture, Cloud Dosage, MM2K Gaming, back again with another episode of the Quick Doses, where we talk about the latest and greatest in the video game news that's sparking up conversation in the community. And like I've been saying ad nauseum, we'll point you to a bigger discussion. All right. Do us a huge favor if you haven't already. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, rock those bells for notifications, please. All right. So, let's talk about it, y'all. And in order for me to do that, I have to go here if it will let me. All right, so this is the Nintendo Switch site where it tells you available June 5th, 2025. You can get access to the Nintendo Switch 2. And again, as I said in the bumper, there are two versions. There are the version with just the handheld, the handheld screen, the LCD screen, of course, which is the actual unit, the dock, and the Joy-Cons, right? That's $449. And then there's another SKU that comes bundled with Mario Kart World. That's $500. Again, I some people complain about that, but I don't think that's the more controversial part. The most controversial part were the games, right? So the aforementioned Mario Kart Worlds. If you want to buy that game separately, the game digitally is going to be $80 digital. But here's the bigger kicker. For $90, you can get what they call the physical version, but all it is just like a mini SD card or whatever, or micro SD card that has the license attached to it, and you still got to download the Mammy Jammy. So people really went in an uproar about that. Let me just show you some of the things that people have been saying on both sides, right? So this is, for all intents and purposes, I'm familiar with this person. This is a pro PlayStation account on Twitter. Now they did start off with saying, hinting that there wasn't no upscaler or one wasn't seen, really trying to underplay the visual output of what the unit would be capable of altogether, right? But then that got debunked. Wario had put out here all the stuff, the capabilities, the Switch 2 screen is 1080p up to 120p, up to 120 frames per second, LCD screen with HDR support, Joy-Cons, magnetic, bigger SL, SR buttons, larger control sticks, mouse control, confirm for each Joy-Con, improved speakers, clear audio, built-in mic, 3D audio, new stand, 2 USB-C ports, one top, one at the bottom, 256 gigabytes of storage, new dock supports 4K, fan ventilation in dock, BC with Switch 1, and backwards compatible with Switch 1, physical and digital. But then on top of that, in regards to the things that were hinted here about there not, possibly being upscaling or anything like that, this came out, which Wario put out from from the video. It says, sorry for that mic hit. It says Nintendo Switch 2 unveiled, takes performance to the next level, powered by a custom NVIDIA processor featuring an NVIDIA GPU with dedicated ray tracing cores and tensor cores for stunning visual and AI driven enhancements. With over 1,000 engineer years across every element. Hold on. Let's see. Can we make that bigger? What did I do? Oh, let's close that out. Okay. So across every element, with the ray tracing effects and all, and lifelike lighting, reflections and shadows. So it has tensor cores, AI performance, and all this other stuff. So it talks about, it says variable refresh rate. So it comes with VRR capabilities via NVIDIA G-Sync in handheld mode, ensures ultra smooth, tear-free gaming. So I don't think that the performance was the issue for people. I think a lot of us liked what we saw in some of the demonstration from the stream. But again, here's where, well, maybe everybody weren't impressed. Shuei Yoshida said it was underwhelming to him until the From Software had showed up. Well, that's an interesting take. I thought it was more interesting that they got a From Software exclusive. I wasn't overwhelmed or overjoyed with the game per se. I just liked what I saw, how the game looked. Because if we're honest with ourselves, this is a Switch. And starting with the Wii, Nintendo said, we are no longer basing our games off of the ceiling of graphical and performance prowess of the best out there. If you want a Nintendo product, starting with the Wii, you want a Nintendo product because of its uncanny features, and then now it's portability, right? And some of the unorthodox things that we try to do with games, like, the Wii remote, and then now these Joy-Cons that have the mouse feature. When you play Metroid Prime, you can actually set it on your desk and move it like you got like a mouse and a gun. That's a crazy feature. I'm interested in trying something like that, right? So what Nintendo's have basically said is, if you want our games, you're not putting together a 5090 rig, right? Like, you're coming to us for the uniqueness of our games and the quality, the fun factor of our games. So that's why the Wii looked the way that it did in comparison to even the PlayStation 3 and the 360. That's why the Wii U looked the way that it did in comparison to the Xbox, One and the PlayStation 4, and the same thing with the Switch, right? The way that it looked compared to those games. And the Switch 2 is an upgrade, they did make leaps, I feel like, in performance, because now they got games coming up to 120. Like, you can, in performance mode, docked or undocked, you can get up to 120 frames per second in Metroid Prime. I never would have expected that from the Wii. And a lot of the handhelds that are out there today, they can't do that. Go up to 120 frames, right? And then a lot of them, I don't know, do they have hardware in them? Like maybe the Asus ROG, whatever, but do they have the hardware in them? I'm proclaiming my ignorance to this, but I don't know. In the Steam Deck, is there hardware in there that will help process AI and machine learning? Is it embedded in there that will help with that? It sounds like there's dedicated hardware in the Switch 2 that does that. So when I looked at that presentation, I looked at that, saw the capable performance, and then I look at something like a Steam Deck. And even though I can get one at, what do you call it? Even though I can get one like maybe $40 cheaper, number one, I'm not getting Nintendo games on it. And number two, I don't know if the $399 Steam Deck can go up to 120 frames per second. And from what I saw from the $399 Steam Deck, I'm sorry, games on that didn't look as good as games from what I saw, even in the presentation, which, ain't going to suit it all fairness. You know what I mean? In trailers and stuff like that. I don't think I've seen games on the $399 Steam Deck that look as good as on the Switch, right? So you're getting access to Nintendo games, which are considered the creme de la creme. When we look at NPD, every month we see that little asterisk at the bottom that explains Nintendo games and how Nintendo digital games are not included in the count, right? I believe that's right. Whether it's physical or digital, if all Nintendo sales were included in the Circana/NPD reports, those reports will be overran with the Nintendo, right? Look, I'm not saying this to justify the game's price. We're going to get there in a little bit. But I'm saying when people are like, this is $449, I'm looking at the comparable handhelds that are out there now, what they're capable of versus what they're charging. I'm looking at handhelds that are around the $400 price mark. And I'm looking at the Switch 2, and I'm looking at the games that are present, right, that are unique to Nintendo, and I'm looking at the price point as far as the performance. To me, and to many, the price of the unit itself isn't the crazy part. Don't have an issue with that, personally. And I don't think a lot of people did. I know some people do, but I don't think a lot of people did. All right. But here goes more complaints, though. Here's where we get the nooks and crannies and everything. This is Angry Joe, and he said, F Nintendo. $90 games for their underpowered console, and some of these physical cartridges are fake, just keys to digital downloads anyway. This is a scam, and they want us to pay for the dang system tutorial. No, F that. Boycott this sick filth. Gamers have to take a stand. And Tom Henderson notes that on the Nintendo Switch 2 live stream, which I think is called the Treehouse, that happened as we're recording this, 99% of the comments are spamming, quote, drop the price. But here's the flip side of it. Insider Gaming has talked about what Jason Schreier has witnessed about, or what he's heard about it. So you got games like Cyberpunk that are going to be $70, right? They're going to be $70 on the Switch 2, which a lot of people may look at that and say that is pretty pricey for an older game. It's going to be $70 for on the Switch 2. And it sounds like it's capped at 40 frames per second. You know what I mean? So when I look at this, I think the bigger issue, more than anything, is the price of the games. This is where I would say I think Nintendo's going to have a hard time rectifying. I get it that there's a lot of talk about, well, there's things happening in the US as far as tariffs and trade, and they're having long-term systemic effects over this. I didn't see anybody else raise the price of their games. And I will say this, even though I don't agree with Angry Joe as far as underpowered, again, you gotta compare it to the comparable. I'm looking at the Steam Deck. Are you guys calling it? I'm looking at this in the Steam Deck, and if I'm wrong, let me know that I'm wrong. I'm not saying this like I have all agency over this, because I don't know. My brother has a Steam Deck. I've seen his Steam Deck. He has one of the cheaper ones. I wasn't impressed from what I saw. I think people are excited over the novelty of being able to have a portable PC around with you, but the output of it really didn't impress me. So I looked at the output of that, and I look at what Nintendo's doing and what I saw yesterday. And again, the trailers are not going to give it full justice. You know what I mean? That's why the one account that we talked about earlier, if the Pro PlayStation account, they should have learned from when people were trying to judge the PlayStation 5 Pro based on trailers. Can't be a hypocrite here. So again, I'm looking at what it's comparable to. It's comparable to these handhelds, these native devices that you get to take on the go. And I don't see a $400 or anything between $400 and $500 that not only is giving you Nintendo games, but screw the game, it's giving you the performance. I don't see it. I think a lot of people are, when it comes to that, and this is just my opinion, I think a lot of people are just simply worked up at the fact that, and I'm hearing this in all types of discussions. I think people are worked up at the fact that, hey, a lot of us in the States thought, based upon certain expectations, that our economy would start improving this year, right? And things are getting worse. Now, I'm trying to say this in a non-political way, because I don't have a pony in this race at all. I don't subscribe to the political Democrat, Republican. And I don't, you know, I talk with my members on what I think politically, but I know for a fact I have good friends that were like, yeah, okay, now our economy is going to turn around, and then there's this uncertainty with some of the decisions that are being made, and particularly with gamers, how it's impacting gaming. And I think a lot of people are venting their frustrations about that, and they're coming after Nintendo when they're talking about the price of the unit. I think they're venting some of that they're deflecting some of that frustration there. But when it comes to the price of the games, I don't understand the logic here. I don't agree with Angry Joe that it's underpowered because of what it's comparable to other handhelds, but it's not a technical marvel. You know what I mean? It's not giving you a technical marvel in the form of output. Okay. And I feel like, and I'm sorry, people don't agree, and I understand and I respect their right to not agree with this. I feel like if you're paying or if you're charging creme de la creme for a game, that the technology in the game, particularly in 9 times out of 10, that technology is going to be either performance and or visual based. I believe that the technology that you use in the game has to be top notch as well. If the technology that you're using in this game is not top notch, if it just happens to be a real cool game, that doesn't mean that you get to charge $70 for it. I feel that way about $70 games. Prime example, Redfall. Redfall doesn't just suck because it's a poorly designed game. There's nothing technically advanced in that game at all. Even the cutscenes are cheap. They look like slideshows, right? So and that's why I'm, kind of upset at Xbox, because when I look at their game sales and how some of them may not be impressive as of late, and they got to lean on PlayStation, the novelty of them now being on PlayStation, and people like, oh, an Xbox game on PlayStation, kind of like, and if you guys are old enough to remember, it's the same thing when Sega games started hitting Nintendo. Didn't necessarily mean that the quality was great. I mean, not hitting Nintendo. Yeah, well, hitting Nintendo and hitting PlayStation. When the Sega games started hitting PlayStation and Nintendo, people were like, oh my goodness. And they just started gobbling them up, because of the novelty. But I think Xbox would help itself if they stopped taking these AA games with AAA polish, because I'm sorry, that's what these are. Avowed, Indiana Jones. These are AA games with AAA polish. If they stop slapping AAA prices on them, like these games should be $50. $60 at the most, maybe. So I can't get on Xbox for that and not get on Nintendo for that. What Nintendo has done with the price is extremely peculiar. I don't understand it. I feel like there might be a little bit of apprehension or concern or paranoia over tariffs and things like that. Like Japan's going to get hit hard with those tariffs. And I was just joking around with people in my Discord, man. I went on a trip because we had to take care of some family things this past weekend. And we decided to rent a car. Well, we had to rent a car because my car I had to put in the shop to take care of some other stuff. And I got me the latest Toyota Camry. Oh, buddy, man, that thing is nice, man. Thing is nice. And I was like, when on our way back, I said to my honey, I said to my wife, not my honey, this ain't the 50s. I said to my wife, honey, can we get that? And she looked at me because she liked it too. She's like, yeah, we got to get that. So we were going to make plans to go get a Toyota Camry, decked out one. Not now. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of angst and a lot of anger about the state of affairs when it comes to economics, and people are being squeezed and all that other stuff. And I get that gaming is not a necessity. It's a luxury. Excuse me. It's a luxury service in a lot of ways. But this is crazy. And I'll say this as well. I don't like the fact that this is likely going to lead to a precedent where PlayStation, and particularly PlayStation, Xbox, and particularly GTA, they're going to start coming out with $80 games. A shout out to my brother Cold Blood. Cold Blood was like, if PlayStation is smart, they'll just stay at bay. And I totally agree with him. So yeah, there's a lot of things that, in my personal opinion, are being overblown. I do feel that the presentation was great up until the thing. I liken it like this, and then we're gonna get out of here. I said, imagine you're sitting at the table. You at a 5-star restaurant, and then this stuff here is good, right? And you're like, finally, I know these are great chefs. They just didn't make steak before, and now they're making steak. And they're bringing the steak out to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's the juiciest looking steak. It's sizzling on the plate as they bring it to you. And then the waiter sets it down right in front of you. And then as you're about to go cut into it, he flicks a booger on it. That's essentially what Nintendo did when they dropped that price. Bad move. Very bad move from Nintendo. All right. Well, that's it from us. Let us know what you guys think about all this. And again, if you want to go into the deep diving discussion, because I want to show you guys this. This is shout out to the homie Stephen Totillo. So we're going to, review portions of this. We're going to look at this article from Stephen Totillo because he gives you some of his experience with it. And VGC did a hands-on review of it as well. I'm going to give my reactions to that, and I'm going to show that as well. So come and join us at the members level. Hit that join button, become a member, or if you're not a member already and you want to join us through Patreon because YouTube isn't your thing, go and join over at patreon.com. Just look for MM2K Gaming Members Plus. MM2K Gaming Members Plus. Join us there. You'll get access to the same content, but you'll enjoy a 50% off promo through the month of April. All right. If you don't know how to join, or if you're still confused because you're a current member and some of the changes that we made, you're not sure where the content is at, or you're not sure how to join, stay tuned right now because the promo is going to show you how to do that. With that said, I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Till next time, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace. What's up, people? I hope you're enjoying MM2K Gaming News content. You have a possibility to get access to even more great content, and I'm going to show you how very quickly. First and foremost, you're going to want to become a member. And you can become a member at 2 different levels. You can become a member at the shout out level, which is our $1.99 or $2 tier, and then you can become a member at what we call the Foamy Homie tier, which is at $3.99 or $4, depending upon where you join. So I'm going to show you how you join on YouTube. All you got to do is simply go to join right here. And then you can pick one of the 2 tiers, the foamed up or the foamy homie tier. And again, the foamy homie tier will give you access to everything. Just simply click on that and join and follow the instructions from there. And then you'll get access to our members posts that we place over in the post section, where you'll get access to members content Monday through Friday. All right. And then you'll get other access to streams and things like that. Now, if joining us over here is not your cup of tea, then you can become a Patreon member. Simply go look for MM2K Gaming News at Member Plus. And then what you can do is see the membership options over there. And again, we have 2 tiers. We have a tier 1 that's similar to the foamed up tier. We got another tier, tier 2 that's similar to the foamy homie tier. But here's the crazy thing: as you can see here, those prices are crossed out, and there's even cheaper prices. All through the month of April in 2025, we are giving people access on Patreon 50% off. So you can join us on Patreon, get 50% off your subscription and get access to the same great stuff. Another thing that you can do, another awesome perk, is when you join our Discord, which is in the description below. Join our Discord. You'll also get notifications to when all of this member content goes live. You can go to our special members only notification rooms and you'll get access to the content there. So multiple ways you can join us over at MM2K Gaming News, get access to all the great content Monday through Friday, on top of the stuff that you already enjoy. We thank you again so much for your support. And until next time, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.